Hey everyone! If you're brand new to medical coding or you just want a crystal clear process you can trust, you're in the right place. Today, I'm giving you the exact 6-step method that every accurate ICD-10-CM code follows. No guessing, no flipping randomly through the book. Let's jump in.
Understanding the code structure. All right, before we jump into the actual coding steps, let's take a quick look at what an ICD-10-CM code really is. Because once you understand the structure, the entire coding process becomes way easier. Think of an ICD code like a story told in up to 7 characters. Characters 1 through 3. These are your chapter title. They tell you the general disease category. Is it an injury? A cardiac issue? A respiratory condition? It all starts right here. Characters 4 through 6. Now the story gets more detailed. These characters add specificity. Things like where exactly is the condition, location, how severe is it, which side of the body, laterality. This is where you move from close enough to clinically accurate. Character 7. And then we have the bonus character, the 7th character extension. This is used mostly for injuries, fractures, poisonings, and it tells you something very important. Was this the initial encounter, a subsequent visit, or a sequela? This tiny character changes everything in coding accuracy. So here's the golden rule, the one every coder must memorize. Always code to the highest level of specificity. If the code allows for more characters, you use them. Because in coding, details aren't optional. They're the difference between a clean claim and a denied one. Identify the main term. All right, step 1, and trust me, this is the foundation of accurate ICD-10 coding. Whenever you look at a diagnostic statement, your very first job is to figure out the main term, not the adjectives, not the body part, but the actual condition being treated. Let's look at an example. Diagnosis: chronic renal failure. Now here's where new coders often get confused. The main term is not chronic. That just tells you duration. It's not renal. That simply tells you the location. The real main term, the one that leads you to the correct code, is failure. That's the term you take into the alphabetic index. That's the term that unlocks the correct coding pathway. And here's why this step is so important. If you choose the wrong main term, you choose the wrong index entry, and your entire code collapses before you even begin. So remember, strip away the descriptors, ignore the location for now, go straight to the core condition. Master this and every step that follows becomes 10 times easier.
Step 2. Locate the main term in the alphabetic index. Great, you've identified the main term. Now it's time to take that word into the alphabetic index, which is basically your roadmap to finding the right code. Here's how you do it. Start by searching for the main condition, the word we identified in step 1. Let's continue with our example. Main term, failure. Then you follow this sequence, like moving down a logical staircase. 1. Condition. Start with the main term itself. Failure. 2. Organ or site. Next, narrow it by adding the location. Renal. This tells the system where the failure is happening. 3. Manifestation if applicable. If there's an effect, complication, or secondary detail, this is where it gets added. 4. Modifiers. Now you check for things like acute or chronic. These help fine-tune the code. 5. Laterality. If the index mentions right, left, or bilateral, make sure you follow that. Each detail you add tightens your search, guiding you closer to the most accurate code. Think of it as zooming in from a wide map to a specific location. Every step makes the picture clearer. This process ensures you don't just find a code, you find the correct code.
Step 3, read cross-references. Step 3 is where many new coders slip, but you won't because this one rule will save you from tons of errors. Cross-references in the alphabetic index are not optional. When you look up your main term, you'll often see little instructions beside it. They might say things like see also, see category. These aren't suggestions. They are mandatory redirects, like road signs telling you, hey, the more accurate code is over there. Let's look at an example. Diagnosis, allergic rhinitis. When you look up rhinitis, allergic in the index, you might see also, hay fever. This means the system wants you to double-check if the patient's condition aligns more specifically with hay fever, which may give you a more accurate, more detailed code. And here's the key. If you ignore these cross-references, you risk choosing the wrong code. Insurance denials, claim delays, coding errors, they often start right here. So whenever you see also, see category, follow it every single time. Think of these as the ICD-10 version of GPS rerouting, leading you to the correct, precise, compliant code pathway.
Step 4. Understand modifiers. All right, step 4, and this one is all about modifiers in the alphabetic index. Think of modifiers as the clues that help you sharpen a diagnosis from general to exact. There are 2 types of modifiers you'll see, and knowing the difference is a big deal in ICD-10 accuracy. Checkmark 1, essential modifiers. These are indented under the main term, and they change the meaning of the diagnosis. You must pay attention to them. Example: fracture to femur to shaft. Each indentation adds a new layer of specificity. What broke? The femur. Which part? The shaft. These modifiers give you the true detailed clinical picture. Checkmark 2, non-essential modifiers. These appear in parentheses next to the main term. And here's the key. They do not change the code. Example: closed in closed fracture. Whether it says closed or not, the main code selection does not change at the step, though it may matter later in the tabular list. Non-essential modifiers act more like hints or helpful descriptors, not coding commands. Why modifiers matter? Modifiers are what help you transition from a vague, broad diagnosis to a precise, accurate, codable condition. When you understand how essential and non-essential modifiers work, you instantly become faster, sharper, and much more confident in your coding decisions. Because in ICD-10, the details aren't just helpful, they're everything.
Step 5. Verify in the tabular list. Step 5 is one of the biggest rules in ICD-10-CM, and if you follow this one faithfully, you'll avoid so many coding errors. Never assign a code directly from the alphabetic index. The index is just your starting point. The tabular list is the final, official source. Think of the index as a map, and the tabular as the destination. Let me show you why this matters. Example: obstruction of the left lacrimal duct, neonatal. When you look this up in the index, you'll probably land on H04.53. Looks complete, right? But here's where new coders get into trouble. Once you open the tabular list, it tells you this code requires a 6th character for laterality. Right? Left? Bilateral? The index doesn't show that. So when we verify in the tabular list, we find the correct full code, H04.532, left side. This is the complete, accurate, billable code. The takeaway:
The tabular list gives you these key rules: required characters, extensions, includes and excludes notes, laterality, instructional notes, and any rules you must follow. The alphabetic index points you in the right direction, but the tabular list finishes the job. Always verify before assigning your final code. This step turns a good coder into a safe, accurate, professional coder.
Step 6. Code to the highest specificity. Step 6 is where your coding skills really shine, because this is all about precision. Once you reach the tabular list, your job is to make sure the code is complete, accurate, and fully detailed. And that means using every character the code requires. Here's what you must remember. 1. Use all characters available. If the code expands to 4, 5, 6, or even 7 characters, you must use them. Stopping early means stopping incorrectly. 2. Add the 7th character for injuries. Fractures, burns, poisonings. These codes need a 7th character that tells one key detail. A is initial encounter. D is subsequent encounter. S is sequela. This tiny letter changes the entire meaning of the code. 3. Use X placeholders when needed. If a code requires a later character but there's no digit in that position, you insert an X as a placeholder. It keeps the structure correct so the 7th character ends up in the right spot. Example: left femur shaft fracture, initial encounter, closed. The alphabetic index points you to S72.3, but the tabular list requires more details. Laterality goes in the 6th character. Left, right, or unspecified. Encounter type goes in the 7th character. Initial, subsequent, or sequela. So after applying all required characters, the correct, complete code becomes S72.302A. Accurate, specific, compliant. The takeaway: ICD-10-CM is built on precision. Encoding to the highest level of specificity isn't optional, it's the standard. When you fill every required character, you're not just coding correctly, you're coding like a professional.
Conclusion. And that's it. The complete ICD-10-CM coding process from start to finish. These 6 steps are the backbone of every professional coder's workflow. If you truly understand them and practice consistently, your accuracy, your confidence, and your coding speed will absolutely skyrocket. Remember, every correct code starts with a strong process, and now you have that process. If this lesson helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss an update. More beginner-friendly lessons on ICD-10, CPT, HCPCS, modifiers, sequencing, medical necessity, and so much more are on the way. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep learning, keep growing, and keep coding with confidence.